Hi guys. I have a different angle today because I wanted you to be able to see my stovetop, so hopefully it'll cooperate. Just gonna give this a minute. Hopefully you're able to see. I'm gonna try to have to move things around so that you can see while I'm cooking. It is National Grilled Cheese Day. I was looking on my website. I don't actually have a ton of grilled cheese recipes because usually I just, throw whatever cheese, maybe some apples or jam, some honey, and I put them in a pan and that's it. So I don't really post a lot of recipes for it. But then I came across, hi Leslie, I came across a recipe that my husband and I made probably 10 years ago that I posted. The link is in the description above or below if you're watching this later on YouTube. And I'm going to revamp the post because it's, it was probably 10 years ago. So hi, Janine and Claire. So the recipe was old, and I didn't used to know how to write recipes as well as I do now. So I'm going to update it. I'll do some new photos and stuff. But it's really, really good, and I figured today is National Grilled Cheese Day, and while I don't celebrate a ton of holidays, I'm always down for some cheese. So the dish that we had at the restaurant was a grilled cheese sandwich, but the bread was very thin, crispy sliced eggplant, and it had Manchego cheese in the middle. It's a Spanish cheese. This one I have today. And it got broiled in between the eggplant, crispy eggplant bread. It's not bread, but it's breaded, and then drizzled with truffle oil and honey. And you have to go light on the truffle oil. So it sounds kind of weird, but it's delicious. And my husband didn't even used to like eggplant at all until this was one of the dishes. I think eggplant can go pretty wrong if it can get chewy and stuff, but when you do it really thin like this, it works very nicely. So, and as a side note, I have truffle oil and I have honey, but I had gotten this white truffle honey for a cheese board a while ago, and I didn't love it on the cheese board, and I was really upset because it was pricey, but it's perfect for this sandwich. So if you can find truffle honey, you can use that. If you can't find it, you can use just a little white truffle oil and some honey at the end. Okay, I'm going to have to kind of shift things around a lot today because I'm working on a tiny amount of space, but we'll do the best. Do the best I can. Usually, for those of you who haven't been here before, I shoot from the other side of my kitchen, and I try to do everything mostly on the counter. But I figure if I'm going to be frying stuff, you might want to see the pan. Also, what's your favorite cheese? Let me know. I'm always interested in what people like cheese-wise. So let's see. I have one eggplant, and I'm not going to cut the whole thing today because I'm only going to make a little bit, but you should be able to get anywhere from maybe 4 to 6 sandwiches from one eggplant. So I'm just going to cut this end off. It makes it easier to peel. Hi, Jennifer. All right, so I find that peeling eggplant, if you cut the top off and then you take a peeler and kind of start where this, where the cut was, of course I picked a smushy spot there, but it makes it a little easier to peel. When you do it, if you try to do it without cutting an end off, it just slides and then you're likely to cut yourself. And like I was saying, I had this dish years and years and years ago, and then we made it for our supper club. We had a soup and sandwich night, and we made this as our sandwich, and it was a really big hit. So I had posted it on my site then, and I hadn't made it since, even though it was really, really good. So I made it last night just to make sure this was going to work out for you guys today. But it's very different, and it's surprisingly easy. The trickiest part is cutting the eggplant, and if you have a mandolin, it'll help. It'll make it really easy. Because to get that nice crispy eggplant, you want them really thin slices and even slices. That way you don't have like a soggy middle in there. Oh, and I've been doing some cooking classes at my local library with teenagers, and 2 days ago, we had a grilled cheese cook-off. So there was 5 teams of kids, and they all, is this on high? They all made grilled cheese sandwiches, and then they rated each other's on taste, creativity, and presentation. So the winner is going to be, their photo is going to be posted on my Instagram later today in honor of this wonderful holiday. And then I have a little bit of like behind the scenes video too, so you can see kind of what everybody did. But it was really cute to see like how they got inspired, and you know, watching them trying to navigate teamwork and all that kind of stuff. And there was some creative plating and everything. Okay, this is where on TV people are crazy and they don't use a hand guard on the mandolin and they get cut. I'm going to be super, super careful. So normally when you're cutting something on a mandolin, you want to use the hand guard that came with the mandolin, and you can, like, if I was cutting this way, I could put it like this and I use that to scoot it across the blade. But I need long slices, so I can't really use this, which is the other reason I'm only going to cut about half, but I'm going to be very careful. So this is a mandolin. They're pretty inexpensive. Mine's got like different blades you can change. You can do like a crinkle cut and stuff like that. And I'll put a link to this in my Amazon shop later. But on the side, there's a little knob with measurements. You want to, for this brand, like they're all different, but I'm going to push it and I'm going to turn it till it's a 1/4 inch. And so you can see it just kind of offset a little bit here. So when you slide the eggplant through, very carefully, you'll get these nice, completely even slices. So if you see, they're nice and thin, and they're all exactly the same thickness. And I actually need to put them, I'm going to put a kitchen towel down underneath on a baking sheet and put these on here because I'm just trying to soak up any extra moisture. You can use paper towels. I think the recipe I wrote to use paper towels because before I used kitchen towels for most things. I'm just going to cut a couple more slices. And I just have a little small 1/4 sheet pan underneath to catch them so it doesn't get eggplant all over my counters. And I'm going to use this same smaller sheet pan to broil the sandwiches at the end because we're basically going to fry the eggplant till it's nice and crispy, and then put the cheese in and broil it to get everything melted and make sure that the tops of the breadcrumbs are nice and crunchy, because a soggy grilled cheese is just really sad. I'm going to stop here because I don't want to cut myself. So got these, and I kind of keep the ones that came from next to each other on the eggplant together so that they'll, you know, make a better sandwich, like the sizes will be more similar. So I'm going to put all those down and then just pat the tops of them dry, because you want them nice and dry. It'll help all the breading ingredients adhere. Sorry, I know that it's a little hard to see. I can't put my computer any further back without you just seeing the underside of the cabinets in my kitchen. So, all right, eggplant's going off to the side for now. And I have a large cast iron skillet. If you don't have cast iron works really well. It distributes the heat really evenly. If you don't have cast iron, you can just use any like really heavy bottomed skillet that you have. How is this light? Okay. Okay. You're gonna need three separate shallow dishes for your like breading station. You want to make sure they're big enough that the eggplant can fit on there. So the way I was taught to remember the order to do breading was like February, F-E-B, flour, egg, breadcrumb. So got those here. While I get this together, I'm going to do just a thin coating of oil on my cast iron skillet. I just want the bottom to be completely covered, but I'm not deep frying, so I don't need a lot. But this is just regular olive oil. Okay, so that's on. I'm gonna put it on medium-high heat, and as soon as it gets kind of warm in here, I'm gonna have to turn the fan on. Hopefully it won't be too loud. But in the first container, I'm gonna put some flour. Probably, if you're gonna do a whole eggplant, I would say maybe a cup or so of flour. I'll need 2 eggs. And I'm gonna beat them with a splash of water. The water just kind of helps it loosen up a little bit because you want it to be able to coat the eggplant. Okay. Hi, Sharon. Okay, so there's that. I'm going to get a fork and just put a little splash of water on with the eggs. You don't need it to be perfect. You just want to break up the yolk. Okay. And then on the last one, I'm using plain breadcrumbs. You can use Italian seasoned breadcrumbs if you want. We're going to be adding Italian seasoning. And I do the same as with the flour, maybe if you're doing a whole eggplant, about a cup. And then I'm going to salt and pepper like pretty generously the flour. And I'm also going to put some in the breadcrumbs. And then to the breadcrumb plate, I'm going to add a 1/4 teaspoon. Well, you can either use 1 3/4 teaspoons of, hey, Fongaboo, and Rob, you love the new angle. It's a tricky angle. It's like very dark over here and kind of cramped, but this actually, before we remodeled our kitchen, this space right here was all I had to cook on. I didn't have any other counter space. So you can either use 1 3/4 to 2 teaspoons of Italian seasoning, like dried Italian seasoning blend, or you can use a mix. I'm using a teaspoon of dried parsley, and my recipe that's posted doesn't reflect this quite yet, but a teaspoon of dried parsley, 1/2 teaspoon of dried oregano, and a 1/4 teaspoon of marjoram. Okay. I'm just going to mix this together on the plate. Okay, you can kind of see that. This one's just the eggs. So again, flour, egg, breadcrumb, and then we'll put it in the skillet. So I'm gonna move I've pat dry all the eggplant slices. They're nice and dry. And I'm gonna move them to a smaller sheet pan just because I wanna line this with a metal rack. That way, when they come out of the skillet, the grease can drip away from them. Like, where did I put that? In here. So I've got a metal rack on top of here. Just make sure you keep it away from the burner. So you can put it onto a plate lined with towel or paper towels, but I find that the rack helps make sure that the stuff really drips away. And I usually will, I'll pull them out, and then after a minute or two, I'll flip them over just to kind of get the oil off of both sides. New angle's better. I don't know. I mean, thank you, but hi, Amber. Yeah, I don't know if this, it's hard to configure. I have like a light, like this is my photo studio light. Like it's not really helping a whole lot, but I'm trying. Okay, so I'm gonna turn this fan on because it's gonna get smoky. Hopefully it's not too loud. So you take your pat dry eggplant and you press it down into the salt and pepper flour and just kind of shake off the extra. And then you're gonna do the same with the egg. Shake off the extra and then press it down into the breadcrumbs. And I usually will get another one started while I'm doing this. When you're frying them, usually about 2 per batch. You don't want to crowd the pan, and they fry up really quickly. It only will take like a minute or 2 per side. So when you place it down into the skillet, you're going to want to put it away from you. Like don't, because if you put it in and splash it toward you, you could get burnt, and that would be very bad. And the way that I like to check for if the oil's hot enough is I have it on medium-high right now. I take a little bit of the flour and just throw it in there, and if it sizzles, you're good. And this did sizzle. Sometimes with cast iron, you might need to turn it down a little bit once it's up at that heat, but for now I think we're okay. So hopefully you'll be able to see this all right. I'm taking one, and can't really see that, but maybe I'll see if I can pick up the computer for a minute and give you a better view. I posted a little bit like sneak peek last night on my Instagram story, so that might help. Okay, let's see. Let's see. This is gonna be like, all right, can you see that? So they're in here. And it's only gonna take a minute or 2. When you start seeing them get brown around the edges, you can flip. And it smells really good already because of the Italian seasonings. So, all right. While those are going, I can go ahead and start getting the next ones ready. And again, the recipe that's on my site it's like a basic guideline. It just doesn't have exact amounts, but I don't think you have to be incredibly exact with the amount of seasonings. You just want like a good amount of flecks on there. So then you can see nice and golden. I could still use a little more. Okay. We forgot how good the sandwich was too until I made them last night, and it was a big hit. If you guys have any questions, feel free to put them in the chat. I'm just letting the extra oil drip, and then I'm putting it on the cooling rack that I had set up before. So yeah, usually by the time you get another one in, then you can take this one out, and if you're doing a whole eggplant, it goes pretty quickly. And you can make this for a group if you had a couple eggplants. Just, have your assembly line set up, and then at the end you're just broiling it, so you only need half the amount of room on a baking sheet. If there's any questions. Looks beautiful. Thank you. When I did this last night, I was like, man, I need to fry eggplant more often. Let's see if I can give you I'm not going to risk bringing it over there right now. I'm going to go ahead and flip over the first one that I put on there because it's drained enough from that side. Almost. This is something you definitely don't want to walk away from your stovetop while you're making. I think I'll make 2 sandwiches worth for now, just to so I can show you guys how to do it, and then I'll get the post revamped soon. But it's really not complicated, and it's a fun and kind of different way to celebrate National Grilled Cheese Day, or Friday, or any day really. I lived in Wisconsin for about 10 years, so I very much enjoy all things cheese. Look at that. And I'm going to flip that second one over. This one's almost ready. Just going to move this. I'll fry the rest of these up after I go offline, but okay. Yeah, I'll bring you guys over once again so you can see. I know the angle's not the best, but and I'm gonna go ahead and turn the heat off because just about done over there. This would be great with mozzarella and like marinara sauce. All right, that one on, flip this guy over, and I'm just gonna scoot this back off the heat because I want the oil to sit here and smoke. Okay, let's see what Jonathan said. I often say that too, except S, fry, eat, G. I don't know what that means. Any day's a good day for fried eggplant. Yeah, this dish kind of reminded me of how good fried eggplant is. I guess I kind of forgot. All right, so now we need the cheese. So I'm gonna move this so that I can preheat my broiler. I'm running out of room in here. Okay. So you're gonna preheat your broiler on high. We talked about this last week, I think I was broiling, or 2 weeks ago. If you have an electric stove, you should leave the door propped open just a little bit when you're broiling, because the heat isn't consistent on broil with an electric stove, and it won't cook as fast. If you have gas, you can leave it closed because it circulates better. This is a wedge of Manchego cheese. I just like to cut off this little like waxy rind at the end. I don't know if you can eat it. Some cheeses you can eat the rind. I've never wanted to eat this particular rind. So this one says it was aged over 12 months in Spain. And I like this kind of shape, makes it easy to cut for slices for your grilled cheese, because I just make triangles and then kind of play Tetris with it till I get the most coverage on my sandwich. Okay. So I'm just going to do some thin slices. Let's see if there was any other questions. First time I've used the eggplant emoji and was actually referring to eggplant. That's fantastic. Glad to help. So if you send that to your wife tonight, then she'll know you want a sandwich, right? Okay, let's see. Let's see if I can. All right, it's a little better. So I'm just doing, I don't know, like 1/4 inch, 1/8 inch, whatever. It doesn't matter as long as they're kind of thin and the same size. It's got a lot of flavor, so you don't need a ton of it. Okay, I'm gonna put some eggplant on here. All right, so I've got 2 pieces, and I'm just gonna lay the cheese out. So like, just kind of however however it'll best cover the surface, and you can always like break pieces off. And because you want to get it like fully covered. You don't want to bite without cheese. It would just be sad. Okay. All right, so I'm going to do basically this on this one now. Probably going to need a little bit more cheese. And if you have a little bit of that, like I have a tiny bit of that wax coating, it's fine. It's a small amount. If you make this, tag me on social media at Big Flavors. If you're on Twitter, it's at Big Flavors blog, and hashtag it Cook Big Flavors. I would love to see it. Okay, these are both covered with cheese. I'm going to top them with the other eggplant. So that's what they're going to look like going in. So it's eggplant, cheese, eggplant. Then I'm putting them in a broiler. I have my broiler set to high. It's really only going to take maybe... I did not turn my broiler on. Okay. It's all right. It'll take a little longer now because I didn't preheat it, but I opened the door, so didn't have to worry about that part. But while that's doing that, I will just go ahead and put the cheese away. Next week, I won't be doing live because I will be visiting some family. So I'll be back the 26th. And yeah, I'll have to figure out what to make for you guys then. I'm probably going to go back to the other angle, or I've thought about getting one of those little hot plates so that I can do it on the other side, because this is very cramped for space, although I do have a small kitchen. But, okay. Thank you, guys. All right, so just kind of keep an eye on so you can see the cheese starting to melt. Someone asked the brand of mandolin I have is Oxo, and I'll add the link to my Amazon shop afterward. It's the link to my shop is up above. It's amazon.com/shop/bigflavors. I don't use a mandolin too often, but it's really good for things like if you want to have, if you want to make your own potato chips or anything that really you want the exact same size overhead GoPro. But can you stream to Facebook from that? Because, like, I have my laptop sitting on a teapot base with a cutting board on top of it. That's my method, because otherwise, I mean, I guess I could try to do it from my phone, but then I might not be able to see the chat as easily. Sorry that I forgot to preheat that, guys. So when this comes out, if you're using truffle oil and honey separately, drizzle it, like a decent amount of honey is good. The sweetness really works well with it. But otherwise, when you do the truffle oil, just use a very small amount, because truffle oil is really, really potent, and a little goes a long way. I'm going to use this white truffle honey that I got. I had called for the original recipe called for white truffle oil and honey, but I don't know. I think I have some black truffle oil. I'll see. I don't know if that would really make too much of a difference. I got this black truffle oil from Wegmans. It does have a different smell, but I think it would still be good. But if you're going to get some, I would get the white kind. And for whoever was asking how much this truffle honey was, which is why I didn't want to ditch it all, it was $9.99. So I'm glad I found a use for it. I'll have to make this more often now. It's almost melty. I like drizzling with this with honey because you just get kind of a nice steady drizzle. You can use a little tiny spoon. You could also serve it with a little cup of the honey to dip if you wanted to. Let's see. We're getting melty. Also, the thicker you slice your cheese, the longer it'll take to melt. So keep that in mind when you're doing it too. Grab. I'm actually going to use a fish spatula to get these off, or a seafood spatula, because they're kind of longer and this will go under the whole thing. Almost there. Oh, some of the combinations from the kids class that I did. They did, there was a lot of fried eggs and bacon going into their sandwiches. One of the teams cut theirs into a heart for trying to get extra presentation points. One of them made a smiley face out of tomatoes on top. One team, the team that won actually, they took my tip on using mayo instead of butter on the outside of the bread. Some people think it sounds crazy, but just a thin layer of mayo to touch the pan to fry it. It makes the crust, like, it's a really, really good crust. And theirs ended up winning. Even the kids that didn't think they were going to like mayo, or they didn't normally like mayo, enjoyed it. All right. So there they are. It gets a little bubbly up top. It'll settle down as soon as it cools. But you can see, like, the cheese is nice and melty. So I'm just going to take one of these. And if it seems like there's some oil, like, hanging out on top, you can always blot it a little bit too with a paper towel or a kitchen towel. And then for serving, so this is what it looks like. For serving it, I like cutting it the way they did at the restaurant that we had it. It was one, it's not there anymore. It was called Paniche. It was in White Plains, New York. But they kind of cut it into just like 1-inch kind of chunks. So I just cut it sliced like that. And we'll do the drizzle. Just kind of go for it. Like I said, if you're doing truffle oil separately, go light on the truffle oil. You can go a little heavier on the honey because the sweet really works well with the cheese. So that is it. I'll show you a little cross section. It doesn't look, I'm having a hard time with the angle here. Here you go. It doesn't look as good as it is. I don't know what it is about it, but it's like nice and crispy, sweet, and then you get the cheese flavor is really nice in there. So if there's any other questions, thank you guys for joining me. I will see you in 2 weeks. Have a great weekend, everybody.